You're listening to Inclusive AF with Jackye Clayton and Katie Van Horn.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Katie. I'm so glad you're here with me today.
Me too. Welcome to the Inclusive AF podcast, everybody. We
You know,
have we have some things to share because
I
we want
just
to make sure that
feel
you know.
I feel like you wake up those days and you're like, when are we going to have nothing to talk about?
Never a clock. It's
Never,
never a clock.
never a clock.
So I'm going to read something for you, Jackie. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So this is the VA rollback of DEI. Okay. So before the rollback, Directive 1341, so before the Executive Order 1341, or sorry, in the Directive 1341, which was pre-Executive Order 14151, beg your pardon. So before it said the Department of Veterans Affairs does not discriminate on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, sex, including gender identity and expression, sexual orientation, marital status, disability, or political affiliation in the delivery of services or in employment. Okay. So post Executive Order 14151, the Department of Veterans Affairs is committed to equal opportunity consistent with merit-based practices and does not maintain any office, staff, or policy that confers preferential treatment based on identity. All care and benefits are delivered equally to veterans under existing federal statutes. So what this does is basically remove the explicit protections under gender identity, marital status, political affiliation. All of those were removed. And
Well, you can even roll back further. It started with laying off the staff, the DEI staff for Veterans Affairs. Like that's
yeah,
starting with that. And yes, took that away. Also took away gender affirming care. Also removed hormone initiation for veterans that are already and have been receiving support for that. So,
but you know what it did? Basically confirm or make sure it's solidified is suicide rates.
that's right. Because it no longer supports new trans or gender nonconforming people that were looking for assistance in those spaces. So, yes, there will be higher suicide rates and nobody there to support the organizations there.
And again, these are folks like I know you just said transgender, but this is a lot of different people as well. These are pretty much anyone that has historically been excluded or harmed.
Yes.
Saying we're now using a meritocracy system, which again, we know this is
I get concerned because we know that, like, we know that this isn't something that somebody is choosing. And if they were getting that care and now aren't, that's what I get most concerned about.
Mhm.
I mean, I feel like, I've been Black all my life, so if I'm being discriminated against, it's not a big shocker. I feel like we have not been supportive of members, and again, it does affect a lot of people, but that it just wasn't that long ago that people that were transgender were getting that support. So to stop in the middle of that, or you know, I feel instantly concerned for those people. I mean,
who let's be clear. I think this is the part where I get so angry is that these are people who have said, I am going to risk my life
for this country.
for this country.
They serve the country already.
Right. Or are serving.
Right.
Because I'm saying Veterans Affairs, of course, this could also be folks that are active duty that are
That's
working
right.
there.
That's right.
And basically you're saying we're going to get rid of all accountability mess efforts. So, there's this Office of Accountability now with no DEI mandates. So they're getting rid of ombudsmans, They're getting rid of all of the DEI staff, as you mentioned.
And
No
keep in mind
reporting
right
systems.
now, when they talk about transgender in specific, because they were saying it's grotesquely inefficient because of the money and the amount of healthcare that they were spending. The total amount that they have documented is about 134,000, which is a really small percentage when you look at
Right.
it. All the veterans that qualify under VA laws is that's 134,000 is a really small amount. It's not a gross over,
Well, and I guess that's the thing is that there's like this.
You don't need Viagra. Did they cut that?
Yeah, no, they, of course they didn't do
How
that.
many people commit suicide because they don't get Viagra versus people that are transgender and that getting the necessary care?
And,
It's
and
like they're already going to be we already know there's other types of hormone therapy that's necessary. So it's not like this is destroying an industry.
I guess this is like it's the there's so like take away the harm this will cause to people. This is just another group of, they're getting rid of, I think you said like 60 some plus team member, like people that worked either in the DEI office or in this space. Um, the care that is no longer going to be offered. So yeah, we'll keep Viagra. We'll make sure everyone still has Viagra,
Right.
but are going to interrupt hormone treatments, things along those lines that like I think people forget that when you have hormone treatments, like there is a mental health piece to this where we know it right now because we're on the other side of it on a very different space in regards to hormones where our hormones are completely jacked because we're going through menopause,
Right.
but hormones are not to be messed with. And when you start messing with them, when someone is on hormone replacement therapy for because they are transgender, taking that away and making that not eligible or not able or not them not able to get that care any longer, that's life changing. Misgendering someone when they go into an office because we just eliminated it. We don't want to talk about that anymore. Again, it makes you go, I'm not a human. I'm not important. And this is where all of these things come into play. But, I think the piece that I also worry about, we go back to the amount of work and legal challenges that it's going to take to fix this. And what is the end game? Like, what is the win here? So, like, what are we trying to achieve by doing this?
You can't have it both ways. You can't vote in this bill that's costing billions of dollars and increasing people's costs in the name of efficiency when it doesn't benefit you. Insert whoever you is.
And it's not efficient.
How do you say that that's being efficient?
It isn't.
And the part that's the most frustrating is what difference does it make to you if somebody, needs that type of care? Even if you can, like, I'm not saying you don't have to think that it's not necessary or not right, but if somebody else thinks it is, and we can provide that care for somebody, then just do that.
Well, okay. Here's where I'm going to play devil's advocate. It is the
Never
taxpayers.
don't need no advocates.
No, no, no. It is the taxpayers that are paying for the veterans affairs and the veterans medical, which we should be. Because again, going back
Right.
to they signed up to serve our country. However, that being said, it's the same thing to me of no one needs to be in my doctor's office with me when I'm talking about my reproductive rights or anything else. And and in the grand scheme of things, if we looked at the amount of money that the government spends on Viagra, and I'm actually going to look that up because it's an important figure.
Listen, look at dental care because you don't need teeth either.
100%.
Like if you're just trying to cut cost.
Right.
And that's what I mean. Like people are picking that. It's the taxpayers' money, but we're not talking about a lot of money. And we're not talking about if you're really trying to do that, look at the other costs that actually are alternatives or are that we spend that is not a requirement in order to live day to day. You can argue that all of those things all day.
Right.
Well, you have one kidney, so
Yeah, that's all you need, really. So it's fine.
do those things all day. Like, no, we're not going to cover wheelchairs anymore because where
Well,
are you going?
I get that again. That's the thing. It's like, what is the end game? Where does this stop? Okay, so here's some numbers for you. 2016 study. Oh no, hold on. DoD expenditures dwarf other medical costs, such as transgender care to Anaconda. Viagra alone is 2.4 to 8.4 million.
Really? That's gross.
Yeah. Now these are 2014, so these are old numbers. Um,
Well, here's the thing that you need to know when we're talking about the veterans care and going back to that number, there's 134,000 transgenders, recognized transgender people that are covered by the VA, but there's 9 million people. So what's that percentage so how efficient are we being?
we're not. Also, the DoD spent approximately 87.2 million on ED medication, covering about 1.3 million active duty personnel and 9.6 million beneficiaries. That I do want you to know that that is a cap. They did put a 4 dose per month cap per veteran on how much ED medication they can have.
Wow.
So
Well,
you can
good
only,
on you.
so we're saving lots of money by putting a cap. So I know it's 87.2 million. That there's no way that that is true. There's no way, right? Like that has to be a fake number.
They said they've seen this is what a social worker that works at the VA. I've seen an increase in the suicide risk evaluations. I've done more in the last 2 months than I've done in the last 2 years. And like you said, these are a death sentence.
Right.
And we ask 17-year-olds and people into the government to give them your whole body, and they do it on one promise that we will take care of you when this is over. And we're just lying to people.
Okay. So I'm gonna pull in some other information. Okay. Continuity of care is vital, as we all know. And so one of the things that like from a mental health, and so again, I'm going back to the hormones, but I'm also going to just healthcare generally.
Sure.
But after you reduce mental health care, or if it's interrupted, or if there's something. So, and this is, as we know, our veteran population a lot of times is dealing with mental health issues, and it's right around that 3 month mark. So if we're taking in the Medicare cuts, we're taking in the VA cuts to certain groups and thinking on this and what that impact is going to be in just in the next 3 to 6 months. So I'm not even talking long term, but in the next 3 to 6 months, we're going to see, and this is different parties are giving different numbers, but between 4% and 22% increase in deaths from missing essential medications and mental health care. So, like, again, this is no longer like this isn't I know I just was kind of being silly with the erectile dysfunction rates, but what is this truly going to mean to people that are going to be losing mental health care? So, okay, Jackye and I are in a little bit of a dark place right now in terms of this episode. So we're going to try and turn this around, Van Horn, turn it around. I think this is where as HR folks, we need to start thinking about some things that really do matter. And, I know we kind of were being silly a little bit in the last episode around return to office and some of these other things, but I think it would be really important for us to dig into what are the things that can help us reassure our team members or help our team members, or what are things that we can subsidize as an organization to make sure that people are okay. So, I think we can let's start with return to office and the complete idiocy of return to office, um, for a lot of reasons. But let's dig in on that first, and then we can dig in on some other things from a mental health and just from a support for team members. So, return to office. Jackye, any thoughts?
It's dumb.
It's
I just get concerned. I don't think it's fair. It goes right into what you're saying about not having that affirming healthcare. I just think it's worse because people don't feel safe. They're not get the care if you don't have Medicare and you don't get VA benefits. And now we just need to make sure that as organizations we have enough benefits, because those are the same people that were receiving this care that now we're asking to go back into the office
right.
and have to I think that people don't realize on how for people with disabilities on how unsafe going back into the office can feel. So what are we doing around psychological safety for people as they're returning to office?
Right.
You know, I can't imagine. I mean, we talk about menopause because we're laughing about that. I can't imagine having a hot flash and with the first hot flash where I'm sitting at a table with a group of people.
Yeah.
And in case you have never seen anybody having a hot flash, looks like they're about to have a heart attack. And
Yeah.
how do people treat each other in the aging population? You know, that's what I think about selfishly. Like, am I going to have to walk with a limp and sweat in front of a bunch of people that are going to think I'm incapable of doing my job because around 3 o'clock every day I look like I'm about to have a heart attack?
Yeah. Well, and I think that kind of goes with the return to office is giving people flexibility to say, I can't do it today, or I need this today, or I need whatever. So I think some pieces that I want to make sure that every HR person that's listening hears is, if you are not in contact with your employee assistance programs and the operators, the facilitators of your employee assistance programs, to reach out to them and say, how can we improve engagement? Are we getting reports on engagement? What are we doing monthly to remind people that we have EAP and EAP services? For those of you who do have an EAP attached to your benefits offerings. And if you don't have an EAP, get one, because I think that's a big thing. I think the other thing, if we're going to stick with kind of the VA,
Model.
all-encompassing VA piece, there are a lot of organizations that are supportive of um, care for veterans that are outside of the VA system. And so, I think there's a lot of PTSD, people who are suffering from PTSD, that organizations can help. So go and do searches for organizations that support um, veteran care. If we don't have a military to civilian or veteran affinity or mentorship group, and I know Jackie's not a big fan of employee resource groups, but being able to bring some of those folks together that have had similar experiences is huge, to think through what can we do to best support them.
Just don't know if it's safe. I
Yeah,
don't know if it's safe at that point. If you're not being covered and you're not being identified as being someone worthy to protect at a governmental level, then what
yeah,
can we do as an organizational level? I mean, at least point people in those places where they have, I think if you have one and people do feel safe, great, but also point them to outdoor resources outside of your organization, like Trans Lifeline or Lambda Legal or whatever. Point people in our organizations if you don't feel that it is a good time at your organization or not sure because you don't have any other group. Because this is what I would hate. Like a lot of people have gotten rid of their ERGs as they got rid of their
Right.
DEIB.
That's a
So
good
why
point.
one
Very
better?
valid point. Yeah.
Then because this is all about the what about me generation and you bring it back to support a certain group, then everybody will start.
Yeah.
But our organizations that are standalone support hopefully that, you know, and also I think it's important to bring back service days, making sure and allowing people to, you can give them a list of various organizations in your communities that they can support. I mean, you can do matching or even just support with hours, allowing people to take service days could be
And
helpful.
I want to dig in on that just a little bit because I think you mentioned this something before we start recording that I think is relevant here. You and Todd have launched, or sorry, you and your executive producer,
Yeah,
I beg your pardon. He
that's
does
right.
not have a name on this podcast. Your
No,
executive,
absolutely no name.
no name. He who shall not be named,
Right.
that you're married to,
Yes.
have started a uh, what is it, waste removal for,
Yes.
okay. I'm like, I pooper scooper
Yeah.
for people who want to get rid of dog mess in their yards.
Yeah.
And you've also started volunteering at a local,
Yeah.
um,
The shelter. They got rid of the SPCA in our community. It's city run because of the Lowe's types, efficiencies. Is that what we're calling it?
yeah,
Um, and going to these dogs, and it's very nice being able to play with these dogs, but there's so many you get really sad. I mean, me and Todd are dog lovers. You're an animal lover too, so you know
yeah,
how much they just want love.
yeah. And I think it's also like, so I know we're poo-pooing the idea of
Haha.
being at the office, but I also think, just being able, like we actually have, I don't know if you all have done this, but we have some Slack channels. We have dogs of web pros and cats of web pros and exotic animals of web pros, don't you?
I love it. That's inclusive AF.
Yeah, well, we do have some team members that have more non-traditional
Yes.
pets, some of which may or may not have entered whatever country they live in illegally, but that's not the point.
Right.
Um, but I think those little silly things, or they seem silly, but at the end of the day, when I'm having a bad day and I go look on that channel and see someone with, their dog or their cat sitting on their lap with them as they're working, or, they are taking a break and going outside and playing. I mean, I know you do this. I do the same thing where if I'm in between meetings, I'll go out with the dogs,
Yeah.
throw the ball for Siren so he can go swim. And celebrating some of those things and going and volunteering, bringing animals into your home is it's just an important thing, I think also. And they do say that like, mental health wise, that having an animal, dog or cat is such good therapy because of that like unconditional love you get from them. Um, and I think any way that you can support that, and I think your idea of service days is also another one. Like going and working at I've been a few times to Houston and to the Houston Food Bank, and we've done volunteer activities there. And it is humbling, and it is something that is like, it's very cool to be able to support that organization. And Houston Food Bank, for those of you don't know, is one of the largest food banks, I think, actually in the US.
Mhm.
But it supports communities all over Texas. And they do amazing, amazing work. So if you are in Texas and are near the Houston area, I highly recommend. But any type of volunteerism that can get you out of, holy shit, the sky is falling, that is helpful, but I think it's also a great way for you to go, how can I step out of what's going on in my world? And it
Right.
sounds like that has been helpful for you. And I'll say, it's very helpful. I know that it's been helpful for me in the past. Um,
Just getting a break I mean, I think so many people, for me, what's changed about and I've always loved dogs, but also been more of a ew with dogs too. Like you're like, oh, like you're drooling. But then when you realize the thing that was the most funny is that when I was watching this dog named Waffles and it like she pushed my computer closed. Like it wasn't, I was like, oh, okay. And you're like, oh, you can't doom scroll. And,
Mhm.
these dogs, of course, in the pound, when you're dealing with a, 100-pound bulldog, you need to pay attention to the dog.
I'm familiar with this. Yes.
Like you're like, okay, I'm right there with you. And, you know, taking a break from those spots of it helps you, it kind of rechannels on what's really important, um and getting those breaks, but then also to try to, when you're dealing with, nobody asks the people at the shelter what their political affiliation is, how do they feel about those various things. Like we can all rally around various points, and the more you can get out in your community and deal with other people, I think can help bring um a little more hope to those, you know situations of trying to get to meet real people, and find other people that can support. We need those relationships.
Well, I think it's also like I'm going to say this. Volunteer organizations are going to need more and more and more support in the coming months as this government, and I am going to be fucking political, as this government continues to unravel every safety net that people have.
Right.
And yes, we're going to absolutely need to give more and more support to people.
Don't have health care and they can't pay for, don't have those, they can't pay for their pets.
Right, right.
Like the when you can't take, one of the people that we got as a poop scoop. It's our second customer that we got as a with poop scoop was purchased from a woman who was seeing her because she had diabetes that she couldn't afford. That's how she met her and took her back and forth to her doctor's appointment and
Hmm.
paid for us to go take care of her yard, her pen, and ultimately, she passed away from not being able to get the proper care for her diabetes and left two dogs that had to go get adopted.
Right,
And we laugh. I used to be one of those people like, why are you helping dogs instead of helping people? But dogs do help people. Like you
right.
are helping people.
And I think that's the piece that we need to continue to be very thoughtful about is that this doesn't get better or get fixed unless we actually start to look at each other and help each other because we aren't doing it right now and we need to be doing it.
And
And
just like that in the United States, we can talk all day about we should have the things that we should have, but mark my words, it's not going to happen during this administration. So,
no,
I mean, I think last week, my big joke, I asked a friend if she wanted to come over for roast for dinner, and she said yes. And I said, I'll bring the salad. And she was just like, oh, I'll bring the roast. I'm like, yeah, I need you to bring the roast. And
yeah,
she said, that's funny, but really, that's the only way that we will all make it is we're all talking about having more parties and having more opportunities to share because it's the only way that we're going to get through this is together.
100%. And I think that's a piece that people continue to forget is that it's all fun and games until, hey, we don't have the resources we need to do whatever. We don't have the things that we need to do whatever. So
You have
how are
friends that
you?
are real estate agents, invite them over for dinner.
Yes. Say that again.
If you have a friend who's a real estate agent, invite them over for dinner because they're not selling houses right now.
Nowhere.
They have not reduced the interest rate. When we bought this house, we just knew that the I think the interest rate at the time we got for our house, it was 5.5. We just knew that it was going to
Mhm.
come down. And I think it's at like 9 now. Like these prices are not going down. People aren't moving. They're too afraid of leaving work and changing jobs. So like they're having a hard time.
Yeah. And I think that's across the board. I don't think that's
Oh,
you're saying real estate agents. I think you and I could come up with the list right now and say what industries, right? I mean, who, all of us have multiple friends right now that are looking for work.
mhm,
I think I look at you and Todd, and I think you have become extremely resourceful in a very short period of time to go, what can we do?
mhm.
I have multiple team members who have significant others who aren't working anymore or have not been able to find a job. And so again, it's not going to go away miraculously. It's not going to get better miraculously. And until we start going, okay, how do we help each other? How do we start looking out for each other in a different way? It's not it's not going to be great.
No, I think it's like when you think about what we had to go through with COVID, and how we had to stay in the house and change our lifestyle and wear a mask and everything that we had to do during COVID. But hate is a virus that's even more contagious.
Yeah,
We aren't doing something about it. We know that this virus is going to last at least another 3 years.
at least.
And so we're going to have to change our behavior in order to make it better. And it will get better, but we have to change our behavior and get resourceful and get smart about it. And uh,
It's going to take some time.
yeah, but it's gonna take doing what you can, and it isn't gonna be just one person. So I don't, you're right. I'm not super ERG. I'm also not like super work-life balance because I'm like, what's that? But
Yeah. Yeah.
try to keep, yeah, you're the worst.
I'm not the worst. I actually, when you told that story about when you told that story about having a friend dog over and having them close your laptop, that's Penny's thing when I know she's like, okay, wrap it up, mom. Because she'll come over and she'll start hitting my laptop. And I'm like, okay, I guess I've been doing this too long. I need to go get away from this
Right.
house or get away from whatever. So,
Want you to play with her, but
you know,
it is take the time, if it's not once a day, once a week, of doing a little check-in with yourself and see what might be lacking and check your plants.
yeah,
You know,
right. I think that's like, I don't know. Let's wrap up this episode. Take care of each other,
your
folks.
plant. Do you need to go water your plants, Katie? Katie
I
needs.
did actually already this morning. I was up at like the crack of dawn because I'm off. My time's all janky right now. So
Sure.
plants have been watered. Laundry has been started. The dogs
Nice.
don't get back till tomorrow, so I'm trying to get as much done as I can today.
Yes.
But I think you nailed it. Like the reminder here is take care of each other.
Take care of each other. And I even had a friend who just look out for other people, like a younger friend that was like, I don't know what you're going through right now, but she always says, even wealthy people need a break, and like gave me like a $25 gift certificate, like just in case, like just
Yeah.
being thoughtful. I will probably buy their book with their own $25 because it's like that's really nice. I don't necessarily need that. But it's like think of that. If you don't want to take care of yourself, try to take care of somebody else. I guarantee there's people in your community that could use your help.
Well, yeah, I think it's actually this is also, we talk about Small Business Saturday when it's, around the holidays, but make every day Small Business Saturday right now and help those small businesses.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos doesn't need your money.
He
He's
showed
all
out.
set.
He's fine.
Yeah. Target doesn't need your money.
Showed out.
They're all set.
Yep.
Not that we don't love Target. I used to work there. I was reminded after last episode that I shouldn't poo-poo Target too much since I used to work there. But
But like Mel's Pizza around the corner, and like
yeah,
they could probably use that.
right.
This is chicken and waffles, go try to do local and understand that what's going on that what we're hearing and all the doom and gloom that's happening in the US government, where your biggest impact is going to be in your local government and supporting the people in your neighborhood.
Right. All right.
All
Folks,
right.
this is the Inclusive AF podcast. My name is Katie Van Horn.
And this is Jackye Clayton.
Bye.